Good morning. It is Monday, which means we are starting our week again already and starting off with chair yoga. And today we are going to be digging into the Jvestha Sharira Mudra. So as you know, we pick an influence every single week of a card, of a mudra rather, that will influence kind of the tone of the week, what kinds of breathing techniques we're going to use, and what kinds of poses will be included in that, because it kind of covers an overall thing. It's been nice to shape our yoga classes this way. So I invite you to go ahead and find yourself a chair. I prefer this dining room chair that I've been using for the past several months, but many people also use folding chairs. What you need is a chair that is stable and which will allow you to have your feet firmly on a surface. I put mine on these blocks so that I can have my thighs parallel to the floor. If I moved my blocks, my thighs would be down and I would lose my stability in our poses. So that's my preference. So go ahead and sit back in your chair. Make sure that your sits bones are in firm contact with the surface of the chair. And then draw the crown of your head up. Sit as tall as you can, allowing maximum space between your shoulders and your cranium. So allowing your neck to crank up. Think of it like Mr. Gadget, the way that he could, like, like his head cranked up and could like go different places. Think of it sort of like that you're drawing your head up, like you're cranking it up, but you're using your muscle energy to create that feeling. And you'll also feel your side waist engage. And then you'll feel your shoulders start to drop back and down. Lift up your chin slightly and move your head back in the same plane as your back body. And just experience that motion or that position for now and what it feels like. Does it relieve tension? So while you're sitting there just like that, you don't have to start breathing yet. I'm going to read to you about this mudra. So this is the gesture of the upper body. Remember the other two breathing mudras that we did. One was the gesture of the lower body. Last week's was the gesture of the middle body, and this week we are into the gesture of the upper body. The core quality is upper body breathing. So we won't be doing like a specific breathing technique like we did last week. Remember last week the week before, we really concentrated on drawing our breath deep into the lower lobes of the lungs. And then last week we focused on expanding the rib cage and the center of the back as we breathed. We're going to focus this week on drawing it into the upper lobes of the lung, but there's not a really unique technique to accomplish that. We will be placing our hands above our heads to do that. And the mantra or the affirmation that you might say with this is, with a growing sense of expansiveness, I look at life from a wider perspective. So that's really kind of a nice way to look at things. And this one is especially helpful for connecting with your upper body, for increasing your energy and your vitality, bringing circulation to the area of the thyroid gland, so right here in the neck area, stimulating your senses, enhancing enthusiasm and creativity, and awakening our infinite possibilities. So to do this mudra, we take our hands overhead and then we bend our elbows. Remember how, like, when we do that arm stretch, I say reach down and pat your back? Well, you're doing that with both hands on your back. And your goal will be to draw your shoulder blades together. I'm going to turn around in my chair so that you can see this. Settle my chair here. So take your hands overhead Then bring them down and have your fingertips pointing towards the lower part of your back. Draw your elbows up as high as you can get them, which forces you to draw your body up. But what you're feeling now is a chest opening. And the recommendation is to hold this for about 5 minutes and just breathe for about 5 minutes. So why don't we do that? I'll watch the clock. That was 1 minute. If you find that's kind of hard, you can release your arms down. I think that maybe we'll do that. And we'll wait a few seconds, maybe 15 seconds. And then why don't we try, instead of fully going into the mudra, another variation is we can just bring our hands overhead. So now bring your hands up and just creating length, drawing your hands up, drawing your shoulders down, just breathe. And we'll do that for a minute. There's a rather impressive spider crawling across my floor here. He comes up to my mat and it's like he's saying, I do what I want. Because there he is on my mat now. Okay, let your hands down. Go ahead and kind of work out your shoulders. Yeah, he's interesting. Oh, see you later. I threatened him with a card. Okay, let's do that one more time. Hands overhead. Draw your shoulders down as you bring your fingertips up. So draw your shoulders back and down, and then just breathe evenly for another minute. Okay, that's a minute. You can go ahead and let your hands down. Let's do some shoulder rolls to start off our sequence today, because that's kind of tiring on the shoulders to have your arms overhead. But honestly, it's good for us to do that periodically to strengthen our shoulders. Anytime you hold something for a very long time, we call that isometric toning. So you're holding it for a long time, and while you're doing that, you are strengthening the muscles on the top of your shoulders. You're strengthening the muscles right here at the top of the arm. You're strengthening the shoulder girdle in general. So honestly, It's probably fatiguing to have your arms overhand that long, but it's also a good exercise. So let's let out all of our air. Inhale our shoulders up to our ears and exhale them back and down. Inhale them forward and up. Exhale back and down. Inhale forward and up. Exhale back and down. And then inhale forward and up. Exhale back and down. And then let's reverse that order. Inhale back and then up. Exhale forward and down. Exhale, inhale back and up. Exhale forward and down. And inhale back and up. Exhale forward and down. And then one more. Inhale back and up. Exhale forward and down. Let's take our hands out to the side. And why don't you do that same breathing again? And when you breathe, focus on expanding rather, all of this area of the chest. So normally I would be telling you to belly breathe, but I'm advising you to breathe into the chest, creating your Superman chest with your breath. Just a few more seconds. And then let them down. Woo, wiggle them out. You might be feeling this in your shoulders later on. Okay, so let's do some neck rolls to start out also, because remember, one of the aspects of this mudra is that it stimulates the thyroid. And by doing neck rolls and releasing the neck, we are stimulating the throat chakra and thereby stimulating the thyroid. So whatever's in this region, that's kind of how we decide these things. So sit up nice and tall. Again, drawing the crown of your head up nice and tall to the ceiling, allowing your shoulders to fall back and down, keeping your hands firmly on your thighs. Inhale. And then on your exhale, drop your chin to your chest and inhale it to the right. Draw your shoulders down as you bring it to the back. And then exhale it to the left and down. Inhaling to the right, leading with the chin. As you arrive at the back, switch to an exhale, back and down. Inhaling to the right. And exhaling to the left. One more inhale to the right. And exhale to the left. And then when we arrive at the bottom, we're going to switch order. Inhale to the left. Exhale to the right, back and down. Inhale to the left. Exhale to the right, back and down. Inhale to the left. Exhaling to the right, back and down. And one final inhale to the left. And exhale to the right, back and down. Sit up nice and tall again. Part of my yawning, I was up very late playing chess with Declan and I won twice. He made a big goof up and I killed his queen. It was game over after that. Okay, so let's create space from our right shoulder to our right ear by tilting our head to the left and then taking our right hand and drawing it down like you're pushing something down on the floor. Imagine the texture of that something. It's like a big, giant wad of a marshmallow, and you're pushing it down, and your hand is sinking down in that marshmallow as you draw your left ear to your left shoulder, creating space. So you may feel tension all along your right arm while you're doing this, because you are stretching these muscles in unique ways that we don't normally stretch them. But you really can't hurt yourself doing this. So you're just pushing down as you're tilting your head to the left. And then gently release that. Place your right hand back on your right thigh. Take your left hand and squash down that giant marshmallow as you tip your head to the right, creating as much space as you can between your left shoulder and your left ear as you're pushing down on that giant marshmallow on the left side. And you know what's so crazy about this? Because of the way we're sitting, I can even feel it in my legs when I do this. I'm really creating a lot of downward energy with my left arm and my left shoulder as I'm drawing my right ear to my right shoulder. Let's take one more breath together on that. And then on your exhale, go ahead and lift up. Let's engage in some cow-cat movements. So inhale your heart center forward. On your exhale, curl your back to the back of your chair, drawing your belly button into your spine, rolling your shoulders, tilting your tailbone. Inhale, open reverter and spine, hair, shoulder, tilting forward, shoulders back and down, and exhale. Reversing the order of. Let's do that one more time. And exhale, draw your spine to the back of the chair. One more. Inhale, heart center forward, shoulders back and down. And then exhale, drawing your back to the back of the chair. Exhale, sitting up. So, let's start off with some chair sun salutations. I want to switch to out of the chair, using the chair as support in a while, but for now, let's just start warming up our spine sitting at the chair. Inhale our hands up. Exhale our hands out and down. Inhale our hands out and up. Exhale them out and down. Inhale, hands out and up. And then exhale, let's fold our torso over the legs. Don't go between them just yet. Allow your hands to drop to the floor and drop your crown. And just kind of hang out here for a moment. Maybe place your hands on top of your feet. And just feel that sensation of allowing your neck and your crown to release. Relaxing the arms. Relaxing your neck. And then go ahead and place your hands on your shins. Inhale your back up to a flat half lift, drawing the crown of your head forward as you draw your shoulders back and down. And then exhale. Drop your crown again. Bringing our hands up and overhead. Exhale, hands to prayer. Take a nice inhale. Exhale our hands down, then inhale our hands up. Exhale, bringing our hands out to the sides, laying over our thighs, dropping our hands, dropping our crown. Inhale into that flat spine, drawing the crown of the head forward, exhaling down. And then inhaling, rising all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. We'll do that one more time. Inhale. Exhale our hands down. Inhale our hands up. Exhale. Lay down over the legs. Drop the hands. Drop the crown. Inhale into a flat spine. Exhale, hands down. And then inhale. Reverse that. Rising our hands all the way up. Bring your hands to heart center. Take a nice breath. Exhale. Now we're going to do that again. We're going to lay over our legs, and then we're going to do some spinal twists with our hands at our feet. Take a nice inhale. Exhale our hands down. Inhale our hands up. Exhale. Swan dive forward. Lay across your legs, hands down to your feet. Keep your left hand on your left foot and inhale your right hand up and overhead and twist to your right. So twisting postures like this also stimulate the thyroid function. The thyroid is really important for our metabolism and for regulation of all of our other hormones. So concentrating on a routine that stimulates the thyroid and heightens our senses is a good thing. Take a nice inhale. Exhale, drop your right hand down. Inhale, bring your left hand up as you twist to the left. Take another inhale. And then exhale, drop your left hand to your left foot. Inhale, placing your hands on your shins, draw the crown of your head forward. Exhale down. Inhale, rise all the way up. And then exhale, hands to prayer. Let's place our hands on top of our shoulders. Draw our shoulder blades together on our back. So we're exposing our heart center. And we're just going to do those gentle twists, seating like we've done in the past. So inhale, turn to the left and bring your right bring elbow, right, left. Seconds here, maybe about a minute. And then we'll do one more cycle of breath. And we'll release our arms down. Place our hands on the back of our chair. Now you can place them on the seat of the chair, or you can grab the back of your chair, whatever you like the best. And lift up your heart center as you draw your shoulder blades together and back. and down your back. And just lift up. This is like a cobra in the chair. Focus on widening your chest, drawing your shoulder blades together. One more inhale. And then exhale, go ahead and release that. And let's do the counter of drawing our shoulders forward. Stretching out our back as much as we can by drawing our shoulders as forward as we can. And then feel that gentle release. Boy, that feels nice. So I'm going to move my blocks off of my mat, and I'm going to move my chair to my right side. So you pick the side that you like the best, but give yourself mat space. So I know I'm in camera view, I can see it. So we're going to start in front of the chair. We're going to go into some sun salutations. There you go. So inhale our hands up. Exhale, swan dive forward, placing your hands on the chair, and drop your forehead in your forward fold. Inhale into a flat spine, straightening out your arms, drawing the crown of your head forward. Exhale down, and then take your right foot back into a lunge. We'll do a high lunge to start. Draw your shoulders down as you lift up your heart center. And then on your exhale, place your hands firmly on the chair and move your left foot back to join your right in your downward facing dog. Pulling your hips all the way back, allowing your heart center to descend, stretching out your shoulders. Don't overstretch for your first in the morning. Take a nice inhale. Exhale. Inhale again. Exhale, bring your right foot forward. Stay in that high lunge, keeping your hands on the chair. Draw your heart center up on the inhale and draw your shoulders down. And then exhale, bring your left foot to join your right. Inhale into a flat spine. Exhale down. And then inhale, rise all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Take a nice inhale. Exhale our hands down. Inhale our hands up. Exhale, swan dive forward, placing your hands on the chair. Drop your forehead to the chair. Inhale into a flat spine. Exhale, forehead back down. Take your left foot back into that high lunge. On your inhale, draw your heart center up as you bring your shoulders down. Take a nice inhale. On your exhale, bring your right foot back to join the left as we go into downward dog. Pressing our sits bones away from the chair, holding onto the chair firmly. Legs are straight. If you need to bend them, you can. Take a nice inhale. Exhale. Inhale, bring your left foot forward, set up for your high lunge. Exhale out, and then inhale, draw your heart center up. And exhale, bring your right foot to join your left. Inhale into that flat spine. Exhale down, and then inhale, rise all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Let's do the next variation with our knee on the ground so that we can get a nice opening of the hips. Take a nice inhale. Exhale our hands down. Inhale our hands up. Exhale, swan dive forward. Place your hands on the chair. Drop your crown. Inhale into a flat spine. Exhale, bring your right foot back and drop your knee. If you want to stay high, you're welcome to do so. Inhale, bring your heart center up and move your hips forward just to open up this right hip a bit. Take a nice inhale. Exhale. Take an inhale again. Exhale, tuck your toes, lift up your knee, and bring your left foot back to join the right, moving back into downward dog. Take a nice inhale. Exhale, moving your sits bones back in space. Inhale. Exhale, bring your right foot forward, drop your left knee. Inhale, rise up your heart center as you move your hips forward and draw your shoulders back and down. And then exhale, tuck your toes, bring your left foot in to join the right. Inhale into a flat spine, draw the shoulders away from the ears. Exhale, placing your forehead on the chair. And then inhale, rising all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Take a nice inhale. Exhale our hands down. Inhale our hands up. Exhale, swan dive down to the chair. Place the hands on the chair, forehead on the chair. Inhale into a flat spine, drawing the shoulders away from the ears as you draw the crown of the head forward. Exhale, take your left foot back. Drop your knee to the ground. Inhale, bring your heart center up as you draw your shoulders down and bring your hips forward if you can. Exhale, tuck your toes, bring your right foot back to join the left in that downward dog. Drawing your sits bones back. Take a nice inhale. Exhale, bring your left foot forward. Drop your right knee. Inhale your heart center up. On your exhale, bring your hips forward to open up that right hip. Take a nice inhale. Exhale, tuck your toe, lift up your right knee. Take your right foot to join your left. Inhale into that flat spine. Exhale down. And then inhale, rise all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. So let's do next a high lunge with a twist using our chair. Remember, twists are stimulating. So inhale our hands up. Exhale our hands down. Take our right foot back. Go into that lunge. And then using the chair with your right hand for support, take your left hand to your left hip and twist to your left. Now you can leave your hand like it is, or you can bring it up overhead. The choice is yours. That really does involve some muscle movement of our hips. So this is good. This is really good for us. Try to draw your right shoulder away from your right ear. That's going to create more space to open up your heart. Take another nice inhale. Exhale, return your left hand to the chair. Bring your right foot forward. Take an inhale into a flat spine. Exhale down. Inhale, bring your heart center up as you straighten out your arms again. And this time, I'm going to take my left foot back into that high lunge, leave my left hand on the chair, take my right hand to my right hip and twist to the right. And then if you want, you can raise your shoulder down for the twist. Let's one more inhale together. Exhale, your right hand to the chair. Take your left foot to join your right. Inhale on the flat spine. Exhale down. Inhale all the way up. And that was so good. I think we need to do another one. So why don't we place our hands on the chair, take our left foot back, and turn it parallel to the back of the mat. and straighten out our right leg as we go into a triangle. So adjust your legs in ways that work for you. Take your hand to the middle of the chair, and then take your left hand to your left hip and just draw your shoulder back. And work on keeping your pelvis directly underneath your shoulders, which starts to open up this right thigh. Open up your arm, and you can like allow your arm to sort of float behind you to open up this chest a little bit more. And even if you want to, you can drop your head back a bit and open up the throat. This really actually feels like a lovely way to open up the whole front of the body first thing in the morning. Let's take another inhale. And then on your exhale, return your hand to your hip, turn your body towards the chair. And then let's just reverse our feet. So bring our right foot back, take our left foot forward, turn our right foot so the outer edge is parallel to the mat, straighten out our left leg, place our left hand in the center of the chair, place our right hand on our hip, inhale, bring our shoulder back, bring our hips so that they're in alignment with our shoulders. And just initially focus on drawing that shoulder back and getting a delicious stretch on the inside of your right thigh. So it's a little bit of a different feeling than triangle when we're all standing. And if you want to, you can raise up your hand, and you can even allow it to dip back as you allow your heart to open, which will give you a good stretch all along here as well. Take one more inhale. Exhale, place your hand on your hip, turn towards the chair, then place your right hand on the chair. Take your left foot back to join your right and move into downward facing dog. And as you're in your downward dog, remember, if you feel that in your lower back, lift up your heart center. So lift up and out a little bit, focusing this stretch on the backs of your legs. Take one more inhale. And then exhale. Go ahead and walk up to the chair, and let's return our chair to its normal spot because we're going to sit back down in our chair. And we're going to do a couple of nice hip openers as we have done in the past. So I'm moving forward a little bit on my chair so that my legs are able to be parallel to the floor, 90 degrees with the knees, sits bones in firm contact with the chair. Let's grab our right knee and hug it to our chest. Just initially, just hug it, sitting up nice and tall. And then take our right hand, place our left hand on our left thigh, and just draw our leg. That's right. Just draw it out as far as feels good to you. We're just opening up this hip. And if you feel adventurous, maybe you want to make little circles with your hand. Kind of circle your hip, manipulate it into circles. And you can go forward and back, and then you can go backwards and forward. All we're doing is bringing some fluid into the joint, making our hips more mobile. When we have more healthy hips, we have more healthy knees, we have a healthier back. All right, let's return that to neutral. Place that foot down, lift up our left leg and hug it nice and tight. And we'll do the same thing there. We'll place our hand on the front of our left knee, leave our right hand sitting on top of our right thigh. Let's draw it out to the side. And then make some little circles with it. And then let's return that to neutral, place it back down. Let's take our right leg, cross it over our left, and then draw that knee in. One way to do that is to just wrap your forearm around it and then twist to the right. You can also anchor your hand on the inside of your left thigh. So you're clipping your knee on the inside of your elbow and you're grabbing the inside of your thigh and you're just twisting. This is doing both a twist and a hip stretch at the same time. Take one more inhale. Exhale, replace your right foot back down. Cross your left leg over the right. Same thing, kind of clip the inside of your elbow to the knee, wrap your right hand underneath your left thigh, and then reach for the chair behind and twist to your left. So this is a little bit of a variation on what we've done before. And just focus on stretching out the outside of your left hip and doing your twist. It's quite effective. Feels really good. One more breath. And then exhale, return to neutral. Place your left foot down and let's cross the right ankle over the left knee. Now remember, we've talked about this in the past, that sometimes starting off doing this, it can be uncomfortable if your hips aren't mobile yet. And so just creating space by drawing the crown of your head up, lifting up and out of the hips, lifting up the heart center, create space for this hip to begin to open. So trust that it will open. Flex your foot and draw your toes back to your knee to protect your knee. And if you feel ready, go ahead and hinge forward. You don't have to hinge far, but draw your heart center forward. And take this time now for some mindfulness. We're just going to talk about mindfulness and heightening of our senses. So this is a nice opportunity to check in with what you feel. We have 5 senses. We can see, we can hear, we can touch, we can smell. I'm missing one of them. See? The touch, let's see, touch, see, smell. Oh my goodness. What is wrong with me? I can't remember the 5th sense. At any rate, be thinking about your 5 senses and the different ways that they are manifesting. So what feelings you may have inside your body. How is the energy moving in your body? We're moving energy all the time. And it's all in how we move it. If that's good or not good, right? So how is it moving? Where do you feel this the most? Can you direct your breath and your energy to that area to Encourage it to just relax and calm down. What kinds of things do you hear? What are the ambient sounds in your environments? I can hear all of my clocks ticking. And it turns out that this little clock that I thought was an antique is just a regular clock that looks like an antique. It's a quartz, and I was able to put a battery in it, and it tells time. So right now it's telling me that it's 10 after 7. All 3 of my clocks in this room are saying it's 10 after 7. And I don't have any smells that I can smell right now. But my eyes are keenly in tune to all the details in my room. Every crack in my floor, every piece of hair that my dog has left on the rug. And of course, that little spider Fred, I spotted him from quite a ways away. Check in with your nervous system. Is your whole body calm? Are you feeling impatient? Let's inhale up. So in that time that we've been talking, you've probably opened up quite a bit and didn't even realize it. Let's take our left ankle and cross it over our right knee. Draw our toes back to our knees. Sit up for that hip to open up. Drawing the shoulders down, drawing the crown of the head up. We have taste, touch, smell, seeing. I'm dying here. I can't even believe I can't think of the 5th one. This is ridiculous. Maybe the 6th sense is the 5th one. This was health science from 6th grade. What's wrong with me? All right, inhale our heart up. And then exhale, start to hinge forward. Again, you go as far as feels good to you. The goal is not for our chest to meet the shin. Keep our back nice and straight as we draw the heart center forward. So now, visiting the sense of taste and smell, I want you to visit your last delicious meal. And I'll tell you what I did last night. So last night I cooked down my turkey. And or turkey carcass rather. Took all of the meat off the bones. You know, real meat broth made from the bones is so good for your body. And we made 3 kinds of soups. So here's where the sense of smell comes in. The first one was turkey vegetable. It has all kinds of root vegetables, onions, celery, carrots, and then I put in wonderful herbs. Rosemary, thyme, sage. These are all really fragrant herbs. And then garlic, so you could smell garlic all over the kitchen. And the other soup is a cream of turkey with mushrooms. And instead of using milk, I use coconut milk. And the mushrooms tend to take on kind of a buttery flavor in the broth. And of course, a lot of garlic again in that. And third soup we made was a homemade tomato soup. So we cut up some tomatoes, threw in some tomato paste, a lot of garlic, a lot of basil. So imagine that sweet smell of basil. And then we put in coconut milk after that. And we had tomato soup for a late night snack. Now we've talked a lot and your hips probably opened up, so now you can lift up your heart center. That's my trick for getting people to open up. So let's go and sit back in our chairs for our remaining 5-minute meditation. So you can elect to stay in your chair, or if you choose, you can get out of your chair and allow your legs to be on top of your chair or up the wall. I know you choose usually whatever you want, whatever makes you happiest. And then I want you to wherever your shoulders are, if they're going to be in firm contact with the chair, if they're going to be in firm contact with the floor. I want you to allow them to be fully supported. And start to breathe in and out of your nose. Close your eyes. And let's start to bring our energy down. Let's scan the body for relaxation. Scanning the crown of our head. Releasing any tension you might be holding there. Scan the forehead and the eyes. On your exhale, release any tension, smoothing out the forehead, allowing the eyes to be lightly closed, relaxing the eyeballs within the sockets. Taking a nice inhale. Scanning the front of our face, relaxing all of the muscles of the face. Take another inhale. Scanning our jawline and our mouth, our neck. Release your tongue from the top of the nose, or top of the roof of the mouth, sorry. Relax your jaw. Sorry about that yawn again. Relax your neck muscles. Taking an inhale and then exhaling, relaxing your shoulders back and down, releasing all the muscles across the chest. Allow your arms to become very noodle-like, deeply relaxed, holding no muscle energy. On your next inhale, draw your focus towards the middle of the body. Releasing any tension from the belly, the side waist, the middle of the solar plexus. Allowing your ribs to relax down to the mat. On your next inhale, focusing on your hips, your lower belly, the tops of your thighs, releasing all tension. On your next inhale, draw attention to the lower part of your thighs, your knees, your shins, and your calves. Release any tension you may be holding. And finally, on your next inhale, draw your attention towards your ankles and your feet. Letting go of any muscular energy you might be holding there. And just sit here, breathing evenly, gently, for about 5 minutes. And say this affirmation to yourself with a growing sense of expansiveness. I look at life from a wider perspective. So take this moment to use your sense of sight to step back, kind of like the outside looking in. Take in the view of the wider landscape and the view of yourself within that landscape. Take note of what you're doing, how you're interacting with that landscape. What is the impact of your action on that environment? What is that environment's effect on you? Are you able to find a sense of peace and feeling centered in the midst of whatever it is your environment presents to you? I want to thank you for taking the time this morning. Give to yourself, for having patience with me and my AirPods. I think I'm going to have to start the computer over every morning perspective. As you go on with this day, the start of this week, I encourage you to consider what you smell, what you taste, what you hear, what you see, what you feel. I think I just touched on them all. Become very aware of your senses. Become aware of what you notice in your environment, the impact of your environment upon you. It's always good to stay in a resting pose like Shavasana for 5 minutes or longer. The light in me sees the light in you. The yogi in me sees the yogi in you. Namaste.